This is CBC Here and Now.
Inside Supreme Court in St. John's, a trial of first-degree murder.
12 jurors deliberate the fate of Al Potter. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. That story in just a few moments. But first, we begin with an RCMP officer from St. Philip's who's been sidelined for years, waiting for a new kidney.
And now he says a staffing issue at Eastern Health is slowing down the entire process. But the health authority says no, that's not the case. Jen White has this CBC Investigates story.
It's a familiar routine. Shane Burridge is gearing up for another treatment. The 44-year-old RCMP officer, who's on sick leave, has been on dialysis for the past 6 years. 3 times a week, he makes the 20-minute drive from his home in St. Philip's to the clinic in Mount Pearl.
The drive is actually it's actually a little bit of a de-stressor, I guess, to go in, just to gear up, get ready, and think about what's next. It gives you a chance to think about everything, actually.
Burridge is stuck in a chair for more than 4 hours while a machine cleans his blood and puts it back into his body.
Time does get long. You tell yourself you got to be positive, but I mean, the machine itself, you know, certainly doesn't take the place of your kidneys. 12.5 hours per week of dialysis does take its toll on you.
Burridge has been anxiously awaiting a new kidney since he was placed on an Atlantic-wide transplant list 2 years ago. It's a procedure he says that would give him his life back and get back to the job he loves with the police force. But Burridge says Eastern Health is causing hang-ups by not properly backfilling the role of transplant coordinator, a job that facilitates the process between patients, donors, and transplant centers across the country. Burridge was trying to get on a national transplant list last fall, but he says Eastern Health failed to send the paperwork in time to Halifax, something he says the transplant coordinator should have done.
This process right now is what's flawed, and I'm hoping that it'll be rectified.
Eastern Health declined interview requests, but in a statement, it says the current coordinator has been away since the end of the summer. 2 registered nurses have taken on the duties to allow for full-time coverage of the role. The health authority says someone will be starting in the job soon, and patient care hasn't been affected.
It's very important.
Burridge says he's also had trouble getting in touch with the coordinator's office. He's heard from potential donors who are leaving messages but not getting called back. CBC Investigates called the coordinator's line in January and got this message.
Hello, you've reached the transplant coordinator phone. Currently, there is no permanent coordinator, and there will be coverage 1 day per week on Wednesdays. Please leave a message, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks.
Eastern Health says that message was only up for a brief period in December, and that all calls were received and a response returned. We called again in mid-February, and the message had been changed.
All I'm looking for is adequate health care in regards to the transplant process. Right now, I don't believe that I'm getting adequate health care.
Meanwhile, Burridge is left to sit and wait.
Your life is currently on hold, right? You know, the fact is, dialysis keeps you alive, but the quality of life is just not there. And that's the truth. There's no quality of life.
Jen White, CBC News, Portugal Cove, St. Philip's.
Well, the Health Minister, John Haggie, he was at the House of Assembly today and he did speak with reporters about Shane Burridge's situation. Here's some of what he had to say about the transplant coordinator job that's been vacant now for the last 6 months.
The individual who occupied that role decided at short notice to leave. These people are in demand. We were looking for a specific skill set, I'm told, by Eastern Health. That person has been recruited and is on the way. I'm not aware of any other issues. We've had 16 transplants done through the program last year. We've had 4 done so far this year. As you're probably aware, we don't have the critical mass to do transplant surgery locally. Our patients are all cared for through Nova Scotia.
Well, temperatures today, this morning, especially when we woke up, not quite as bad as they have been over the past couple of weeks. Taking a look at the overnight lows sitting in the minus single digits, minus 12 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. And then this morning, this is what we woke up to. Single digit temperatures on the plus side of the mercury for most of eastern Newfoundland, otherwise sitting in the minus single digits. Happy Valley Goose Bay reached minus 7 today, and then Nain about minus 10. Now the story really was the winds today, peaking at about 98 kilometers per hour for St. John's. Rec House showing 93 kilometers per hour. That's after midnight. But before that, between around 9:37 last night, recorded a gust of 170 kilometers per hour. Now those winds have eased and will continue to do so for most of Newfoundland. That's not the case up through Labrador, though, as this low just sits off the coast overnight tonight. We're still looking at that potential for blizzard conditions through the overnight into tomorrow. Not too bad for most of Newfoundland. We are going to see a system just skirting eastern Newfoundland, so we're looking at some snow tomorrow. I'll have all those details in your full forecast when I come back. Carolyn?
Thanks, Ashley. Well, we have a change to tell you about tonight at the top of the provincial NDP.
The new leader for the New Democratic Party of Newfoundland and Labrador, the one who's going to take us through the next provincial election, folks, Alison Coffin.
She's the fourth leader in 5 years for the party, and as Peter Cowan tells us, she faces some pretty big challenges.
It was all smiles today for Alison Coffin. Less than a year ago, she lost the party leadership, but today the title is hers after no one stepped forward to challenge her. And she's getting ready for an election.
Today, we show the disillusioned, the disheartened, the disappointed that there is a better way.
Jerry Rogers' leadership win and then bailing out 8 months later has left the party scrambling to get ready for an election that could be just months away. Coffin doesn't blame Rogers for making the decision, but says she would have been farther ahead if she had won the race the first time.
I can't rue any of her decisions. I respect her decisions, and I know circumstances change. And luckily, it was a very good time for me to take over, and I'm a pretty quick study. So we can't look back. We have to keep going.
Coffin faces many challenges. The party she leads is just 12% in the polls, 30 points behind the PCs. The party's bank accounts need to be filled to fight an election, and it needs to find candidates. The Liberals and PCs have been nominating people, but the NDP has not.
I really need to get caught up on a lot of the key issues in a lot of detail. I know what the broad strokes are. I also need to start making a lot of contacts. So I imagine that I'm going to be on the phone a lot, doing a lot of fundraising. I need to frame up our platform, which I believe is very well underway right now.
Another challenge? She has no seat in the House of Assembly. Instead, she says she'll be outside, traveling the province. She also has to wind down her day jobs. She has to finish teaching a course at Memorial University and hand over responsibilities at the university's Faculty Association. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, staying with provincial politics, newly minted PC MHA Paul Dinn is pressing the government about immigration. He says the province should be bringing in more people, and the Liberals say, well, that's ironic coming from the Tories. Here and Now's Katie Breen has the details on this story. So, Katie, what is Mr. Dinn's position on this?
Well, he's saying the province needs more people to come here and government should be doing more to attract them. He made his question period debut today on the topic, saying government really isn't doing much to improve immigration.
We are dead last in the number of immigrants that come in here on an annual basis with provinces. The territories and that are the only ones below us. I think we should be doing better. You know, if we're losing our population's declining, our death rate is up, our birth rate is down, we have a decreasing workforce, people are discouraged, people are leaving the province, we have to fill it.
Well, Katie, immigration is combined with advanced education, skills and labor. What did the minister responsible for that department, what did he have to say about this?
Well, Bernard Davis agrees that the province should be bringing in more immigrants. While the province is well below the national average when it comes to retaining immigrants, he says compared to other Atlantic provinces, our numbers are actually pretty high. He slammed the Tories today for shrinking the department while they were in charge.
It's hard to imagine speaking out of both sides of your mouth when your party was responsible for cutting the department, and we're responsible for trying to fix that mess now. And that's what we're trying to do with respect to this the immigration file now.
Last year, Davis said about 1,500 people immigrated here, and he says government's on track for meeting that target again this year. Government is 2 years into its 5-year immigration plan, and Davis says we can expect a mid-plan update sometime soon. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Katie Breen for Here and Now.
A jury has been sworn in for the trial of a Carbonear man accused of killing his 5-year-old daughter. Trent Butt is charged with first-degree murder and arson. More than 1,000 people were summoned for jury selection on Monday. By this morning, about 200 remained. Now, 14 jurors and 2 alternates have been chosen. The trial is expected to take 3 weeks. Butt is accused in the death of his young daughter, Quinn Butt. She was found dead in his burned-out home in 2016.
And now to the Al Potter murder trial, where jurors began deliberating early this afternoon. Here and Now's Ariana Kellen joins us live once again tonight with all the details. Ariana.
Well, Anthony, the waiting game continues. For about 5 hours now, the jury has been inside Supreme Court deliberating, and the judge took most of the morning instructing the jury on the law and how it pertains to this case. But now that the jury is sequestered, we can tell you details that they did not hear during the 4-week trial.
The jury left this afternoon with instructions on how to deliberate Potter's fate. The judge told them about reasonable doubt, direct evidence, circumstantial evidence, what to consider and what not to consider. If you believe Dale Porter's murder was planned and deliberate, it's first degree. Remove the element of planning and it's second. And if it was self-defense and the force Potter used is deemed appropriate, it's manslaughter. But before deliberations could begin, they needed to weed the jury pool down by one. After a full month of listening to evidence, one of the jurors was let go after their number was drawn at random. Only 12 can deliberate. And now that the jury is out, we can give you details on what they didn't hear, like how Potter's defense team tried to get his confession to undercover cops thrown out before the trial began. Potter had argued that the RCMP's so-called Mr. Big Sting was an abusive process. He said the officers coerced him to confess. The judge didn't buy it and ultimately allowed the jury to hear the whole elaborate plot concocted by the RCMP. We can also discuss Al Potter's background, one that's vastly different than the criminal lifestyle of which he's accustomed. Potter's father was profiled in this 2011 Land and Sea episode. A businessman who migrated to Ontario, Cal Potter, owns a piece of paradise in Samson's Island in Notre Dame Bay. It's where he grew up. During Al Potter's discussion with undercover cops, he speaks longingly for Samson's Island, sounding at times like a tourism ad. What makes this trial different is the amount of information the jury heard about Potter's past, including his criminal history, something that's not normally allowed in most other trials, but was unavoidable because of the material gathered during the Mr. Big Sting. The judge told the jury not to consider Potter's past when deliberating what his future will be.
Now, how long will it take for a verdict to be reached? That's really anyone's guess. If there is no decision coming down tonight, it means that the jury will return here again tomorrow morning and pick their discussions back up. They are not allowed to go home. They will be staying at a hotel for the night, and they're also not allowed to discuss this case with anyone outside of that pool of fellow jurors. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Mariana Kelland in St. John's.
To the unraveling story in federal politics now, the Prime Minister canceled a trip to Regina today amid the growing SNC-Lavalin affair. Justin Trudeau was scheduled to attend a Liberal Party fundraiser tonight, but instead returned to Ottawa for private meetings.
Minister, what do you say to Canadians about the crisis in your government?
Now, his plans changed after Senior Cabinet Minister Jane Philpott quit her post as President of the Treasury Board yesterday. Philpott says she no longer has confidence in the government, and that stems from allegations of political interference in a criminal case against SNC-Lavalin. Philpott and former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould, who quit last month, remain in the Liberal caucus.
Well, back in this province, the president of the Newfoundland and Labrador Teachers Association says the new deal with government is as good as they were going to get in this tough economic climate. Not all teachers are happy about the deal, which includes no wage increases, the elimination of severance, and changes to retirement benefits. About 60% of the 6,000 members voted in favor of the contract.
Yes, there's undoubtedly that the concessions that were there were certainly a contentious point, as you mentioned. And the concessions that our membership received, which by the way is certainly similar to what other public sector groups accepted at this time, were certainly a contentious point, and ones that were accepted by the membership somewhat reluctantly, for some absolutely. But certainly they're recognizing the context and the climate which we're in.
Well, pancakes were flying out of the kitchen at the College of the North Atlantic in Happy Valley Goose Bay at the annual pancake breakfast there this morning. Now, it was a snowy morning, and yet the crowds still came out. Well over 1,000 pancakes were served, and the money raised goes to fight homelessness in that region. Let's take a look.
Be a part of this great land should be the pride of any man. To know that
we're flat out on the grill, and we're doing 1,000,000 pancakes.
There's 1,000,000 pancakes going on.
1,000,000 pancakes.
Can you get
maybe 1,000?
How it makes my old heart swell.
Well, this is a way to raise money to help, in some ways, alleviate some of the pressures of homelessness in the community. Myself and my staff, we see a lot of the homelessness situations and women and children fleeing violence, and they have no other options. So we see that a lot.
So events like this are important for that fact.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Last year I worked at the front desk, and it was so nice to see that people were donating additional money, and the community, Goose Bay is really giving. We noticed that this community is always helping out, and it's wonderful to see.
Wow, you're setting a record there, Carolyn.
He looks like he's enjoying those
one
pancakes.
Pancake, one bite. Wow, did you have any pancakes?
I did for breakfast this morning,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
with berries on it. And
Very
some
nice.
syrup. It was delicious.
I'm actually doing the nighttime thing with some family members. So how much is 45 minutes left? Okay.
Not much longer.
There we go.
My style of leadership is to consult, whether it's plastic bans or any other situation.
Bringing in a province-wide bag ban.
Prince Edward Island did it, and our province might eventually get on board, but what's with the wait?
Weather update is brought to you by 811 Healthline. Medical advice, health information, mental health, and healthy eating. Dial 811. It's free and confidential.
The wind today was at Confederation Building, opening up the door of the CBC event.
Oh, yeah.
But,
that's a place to go if you want to get wind any day of the week.
It was brutal, sort of walking against the wind, sort of incredible.
Yeah, awful. How long is this going to stick around?
Well, the winds should ease by morning, but we did see the strongest winds actually into the afternoon, which was a little bit later than what was originally anticipated. But temperatures stay a little bit warmer, but because of that wind, it felt significantly cooler. We reached, or now we're sitting in the minus single digits across the board. And then with those winds, they're still quite strong. So sustained winds along the northeast coast, anywhere from 50 to about 60 kilometers per hour. And then with those wind gusts, closer to about 80 kilometers per hour. And again, with those temperatures, it's feeling more like the minus teens across the board. Now heading through the overnight tonight, we are going to see those winds stay quite strong up through the northern peninsula east, where we have a wind warning generally around the Canada Bay area. Southwesterly gusts near 100 kilometers per hour. And then up through Labrador, where that low is still sitting off the coast, we do have those blizzard warnings from Makovic through to Nain, and then blowing snow advisories from Rigolet and Cartwright through the overnight tonight. And things won't really improve until we head through the day tomorrow. So as I mentioned, those windy conditions will generally continue, somewhere between 40 to 60 kilometer per hour gusts expected tonight, with those temperatures dipping into the minus teens across the board. That potential for a few flurries along the west coast, but those wind chills will continue into the minus 20s, feeling closer to the minus 20s overnight. And then with those temperatures sitting in the minus single digits for the Burin Peninsula as well as the Avalon, we're going to see wind chills closer to the minus teens. So if you are planning on heading out at all tonight, make sure you do bundle up. Now up through Labrador, along the west or along the coastal portions of the Big Land, we are looking at those blizzard conditions continuing through the overnight, with gusts between 40 to 70 kilometers per hour tonight, and that snow continuing for Nain as well down through Cartwright. Could pick up another 2 to 4 centimeters. And then Lab City sitting at minus 26 tonight. Slight chance of a few flurries, but those winds will ease as we head through the night. Now, moving forward into tomorrow afternoon, most of the island should be quite nice actually, with plenty of sunshine, few cloudy periods as we head towards the afternoon hours for parts of Central. And then that next system just skirting the eastern portion of Newfoundland means we're going to see some snow through the afternoon, but the winds will be light, so it won't be as bad. And then up through Labrador, a little bit of clearing through the afternoon, then another round of snow moves in through the afternoon thanks to that low pressure system as it moves a little bit further north. And then with those winds continuing, we are looking at some blowing snow through the day. So here's what I'm thinking as far as snowfall goes tomorrow for eastern Newfoundland: 2 to 5 centimeters of snow, 5 to 10 along the Burin Peninsula and the northern Avalon, and then for the southern Avalon and just along the coastal portions of Burin, we could see about 5 to 10 centimeters. If this low tracks any further north, obviously that snow will move right along with it. But that's generally what it looks like for tomorrow. So temperatures are going to be sitting in the minus single digits. Those winds, again, not quite as bad out of the southwest, near 20 kilometers per hour through the day. As we head a little bit further west, we are looking at getting into that sunshine, maybe a few cloudy periods, temperatures sitting in the minus single digits, plenty of sunshine along the west coast as well, with those winds easing. And then up through Labrador, again, snow and blowing snow along coastal portions, and then Lab City looking at about minus 18 tomorrow. So let's look at your forecast. We'll look ahead a little bit when I come back. Anthony?
Thanks, Ashley. After 3 years, the province still hasn't made a move to ban plastic bags. The province's environment minister says more consultations are needed before bringing in a ban. Graham Leto met with the news media today in St. John's, and I asked him, what's the holdup?
I can't speak for what happened in 2016.
Yes, you can.
I wasn't minister at the time, but since I became minister, I can tell you that this file has been very important to me. And we have done a lot of work in our department, but the message is coming back to us. And the stakeholder meeting that was held in September, before I became minister, came clear then from the stakeholders that we needed to do a survey. They wanted more consultations. So here we are. We're going to do it. It's limited in its time. And we'll be making the decisions very shortly thereafter.
But even looking at the chapters of your last report from last month, the plastic shopping bag characteristics, plastic shopping bag alternatives, current plastic shopping bag management, alternative plastic shopping bag management. I mean, what else do you need to know? You've seen the pictures of bags inside whales. You've seen turtles eating these bags. I just don't understand why there isn't leadership. You don't need consultation right now. What you need is leadership.
Well, fair enough. My leadership, my style of leadership is to consult. Like I said, I've been minister for 3 months. I'm going to consult. When I make a decision based on information that I get from those directly impacted, whether it's plastic bans or any other situation. I lead by consultations. And that's where I am, and I make no apologies for it. All I will say is that these consultations, this survey is designed to tell us as a government, tell me as a minister, how we're going to implement a ban on plastic bags.
You know, Ireland, surrounded by water the way we are, I think they charged the equivalence of 25 cents a bag, if not more. Why don't we just say, hey, if you want a plastic bag in Newfoundland, it costs you a quarter. Wouldn't that solve the problem in a matter of months?
That could very well be the case, and I think that's a pretty popular one. 25 cents seems to be a going number. You know, and we also, I see the MMSB playing a much larger role in this, the Multi-Material Stewardship Board, whether it's through education, because I think education is going to be a major part of this. The transition period, how long are we allowing people to transition to a zero waste on plastic bags? And what role the MMSB can play in helping us and people of this province with that transition.
Would you consider talking to the Craft Council Newfoundland and Labrador about the possibilities of a cloth bag startup?
We are talking to all the people who may be involved with an alternative, whether it's paper, whether it's cloth.
So this first came up in 2016, Carolyn, and so here we are. And in fairness, he is new to the portfolio. A bunch of different countries and jurisdictions have tried. Prince Edward Island is the only province in the country actually to bring in the ban. And Leto says that he thinks PI may have acted a little too quickly, but a number of municipalities across the country have done it, including here at home, Fogo and Cartwright.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
Okay, and Montreal, New York, Washington, Chicago, and then you have Italy, China, Bangladesh.
Yeah, China, yeah.
Yeah, all those countries have bans on disposable bags.
Yeah, so wait and see.
Been done. Yeah.
Didn't wake up and suddenly was singing. It was definitely a journey.
Long before they performed music together, he had to perform her surgery.
The story of singer Julia Halfyard and Dr. Doug Angel. That's ahead.
Meet Caleb.
I blame the doctors for it. I blame God. I was mad about the things that I didn't say and what, things I could go back and change, the memories that we never got to make.
Listen up. Thursdays on your local CBC morning show.
Welcome back. And Anthony, I heard you had a bit of fun at a musical charity event over the weekend?
Yeah, certainly did. I was asked to MC a fundraiser for Team Broken Earth and the $1 a Day Foundation for Mental Health. We talked a bit about that last week. Lots of action on the stage at Holy Heart Theatre. There were doctors and surgeons and nurses using different kinds of instruments for a change, showing off a lot of musical talent. There you see actually there's 2 surgeons and a nurse. Really amazing, actually. They're so good in medicine and so good in other things. Also, there were some professionals on hand as well. Those are still some of the medical people who were there, putting on quite the show. There you see Michelle Doyle and her somewhat famous brother, Alan, one of the founders of the $1 a Day Foundation. Andrew Fury was there from Team Broken Earth, and special performance was also there. That's some people from Holy Heart Performance Arts. A special performance from Dr. Doug Angel, that was Lady Cove you saw there, and singer Julia Halfyard, you see right there. Angel is a head and neck surgeon, and Julia was his patient. And long before they performed music on the weekend, Dr. Angel had to perform surgery on Julia's throat. Here's their story.
I was born down in Georgia, but Georgia wasn't good enough for me. I'd sing country songs for them, but my heart sang La Boheme, and it didn't help we moved to Tennessee. Nashville's not the place you sing.
So how did that performance feel?
Electrifying, hey? It went fast.
Fast for sure, yeah, but the energy was incredible in that. You could feel it in the audience.
Yeah, this is a really great concert.
So how did you two come together? Obviously you have a musical relationship, but there's a backstory.
So I knew I had to go see an ENT for this thing I had on my neck, and my doctor said, my family doc said, how about Doug Angel? Now I knew of Doug because he went to music school as well, so I'm a little bit older than he, but I said absolutely. I always felt that he was very compassionate about my state as a singer, and I was very cautious of that. I know that many careers have been halted because of neck surgeries.
So Doug, give me a sense of what was going through your mind, both as a doctor and as someone who loves music.
Well, I guess it's a bit of a story. So when we first met, I had a feeling there was a fairly big lump in her neck and around the area where the thyroid is. So, the initial worry about that is thyroid cancer. So we did a needle biopsy the following week, and it confirmed that. And one of the big risks of thyroid surgery, and especially thyroid cancer surgery, is injury to one of the nerves that moves your vocal cord. When you get into the surgery and you have to do a fairly delicate operation on that nerve to preserve its function, because it doesn't take much, to give it a little bruise and cause some injury.
I remember waking up after the surgery, and a lot of people were interested in whether I could speak, and I thought that was very interesting, and I could because I was chatting and flirting and doing all my stuff.
Of course.
They're very handsome doctors in there. Anyway, so they knew I could speak. A couple of weeks later, I tried to sing a little, and I had about 2 notes. I didn't wake up and suddenly was singing. It was definitely a journey, and I had to go back to the basics. And
so, I think we all know about patient-doctor relationships, but now there's actually like a musical collaboration. So how did this happen?
Well, I guess we just share. I'm really interested in the whole culture of music and culture of medicine. So when Julia said she wanted to write about this, I said, well, I can offer the objective surgeon's perspective.
And I can provide the emotional, neurotic soprano voice to this.
Yes, that's excellent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's working out, hey?
Yeah.
So what did it feel like when you finished your performance tonight, you on piano, you singing, and you get that fantastic eruption of applause? What was that like?
Wow.
You forget it already, don't you?
No, it's just a beautiful thing to know that I'm singing well. I feel like at the top of my game, and I feel very, very fortunate actually to have had such a skilled surgeon, but such a compassionate person minding my journey.
Yeah, Dr. Angel, no less. Doug Angel, Julia Halfyard, thank you very much. Great story. I appreciate that.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Appreciate it. It was awesome.
Alison Coffin is the new NDP leader.
Up next, what The Economist had to say to try to inspire New Democrats. Welcome back. Alison Coffin took the podium today as the new leader of the provincial NDP.
Yes, the Money Economist won by acclamation and takes over the job from Jerry Rogers, who announced she was stepping down as leader last month.
And with the provincial election happening sometime this year, Coffin doesn't have a lot of time to introduce herself to voters and inspire potential NDP candidates to step up to the plate. Here's part of her speech today.
Today, we show this province just what New Democrats can do. As New Democrats, we put the needs of people, all people, first. We know that the people of this province are its greatest resource. And it is the people of this province who have been so hard done by the poor governance and fiscal mismanagement of the Liberals and the Tories. Had the best interest of the people been put first, we would not be shackled with a 3 sizes too big hydroelectric dam. Had the best interest of the people been put first, we wouldn't be subsidizing large, out-of-province marijuana growing companies rather than encouraging new local industry. We have been taken for granted for far too long. With a population of 500,000 people, you'd think $6 billion would buy a lot of mental health services, or adequate staffing for health care, or well-paved roads, universal child care, or a penitentiary that is not out of a Charles Dickens novel. Instead, we have a shiny new dam and a lack of oversight. I stand here today to tell you that it does not have to be this way. You, we, the people of this great province deserve better decisions, better use of our money. No more boondoggles, no more patronage, no more secret deals, no more giveaways. We must make government work for the people of this province, for families, students, seniors, for everyone committed to staying here and building a prosperous future.
Well, as Alison Coffin embarks on a get-to-know-me tour, a well-known former NDP MP is considering another run at a seat in Ottawa.
Yeah, Jack Harris attended Coffin's debut event today, and Mr. Harris says he's mulling over his own political career federally.
Harris says he's considering another run in the riding of St. John's East, a seat he actually won 3 times, but then lost to Liberal MP Nick Whalen in the last federal election.
I'm thinking about it. I haven't made a decision. Obviously, in the last election, I certainly wasn't planning to retire. I expected that I was going to win because everybody was saying that I was going to win. Other than the wave that took 32 seats in Atlantic Canada, I think I probably could have won. In fact, as you will recall, I mean, that thrust in that election, we were possible government, and we were working towards that goal as the official opposition. But elections happen. So since then, this is a new election, a different election.
And staying with federal politics, the Prime Minister canceled the trip to Regina today, as you mentioned earlier on Here and Now. Justin Trudeau was scheduled to make a couple of appearances, but instead returned to Ottawa for private meetings. All of this comes amid the growing fallout over the SNC-Lavalin affair. The CBC's David Cochrane reports.
The Prime Minister made a brief public appearance at a mining conference in Toronto.
That means listening to your concerns and responding to them.
But that was it for today. Trudeau scrapped his public schedule to abruptly return to Ottawa. A public event at a Canadian Tire in Regina was cancelled. A fundraiser with Saskatchewan Liberals postponed just months before an election.
I am absolutely 100% behind the Prime Minister and the work that our government's doing for the people of Canada.
Jane Philpott's resignation just weeks after the departure of Jody Wilson-Raybould has the remaining ministers rushing to voice support and surprise.
It is, of course, disappointing. But I have full confidence in the Prime Minister.
Philpott's resignation was sudden and unexpected. The Prime Minister made minor changes to his cabinet on Friday, clearly oblivious as to what was coming on Monday afternoon. Even on Monday morning, there wasn't an obvious sign. Philpott did a public event, her last as minister. At lunchtime on Monday, senior government officials were confident that Philpott had been reassured after the resignation of her close friend. By mid-afternoon, she was gone, her letter making it clear it was due to SNC-Lavalin. Sadly, I have lost confidence in how the government has dealt with this matter and in how it has responded to the issues raised.
I'm not denying, I would say it's a difficult moment, but no one has entered politics thinking that there would be no difficult moment.
The question now is how many more difficult moments will there be? The Prime Minister is in Ottawa huddling with his advisors. Unplanned meetings in a week where nothing has gone to plan. David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
And all eyes will turn once again to Parliament Hill tomorrow. The Prime Minister's former principal secretary, who also resigned, will give his side of the SNC story. Gerald Butts is set to appear before the House Justice Committee at 11:30 a.m. Island time.
The business that began with one little girl and one orphan duck. A sure thing, Sunday at noon and Monday at 7.
This weather update is brought to you by Beltone, helping the world hear better.
Well, it's Tuesday, and that means it is Weather Whiz Kid Day.
Another edition. I was gone for the week, so we didn't have any Weather Whiz Kids. But our newest member is Emma Kelly, and she sent us this wonderful photo, or drawing rather.
She's winking at us.
She's winking at us, and it looks like it's a summer scene there. Not too far away.
Yes.
We're almost at spring. Couple more days, or a couple more weeks rather.
A couple more days. I'm so glad you're back.
I know.
A couple more days till daylight savings time.
Correct.
So is that slide in a park or something like that?
It looks like that, yeah, in a park.
Oh, lucky you, Emma.
Yeah, she's 9 years old from Paradise, and there is her photo there.
Lovely.
So if you have any drawings and you want to be part of our Weather Whiz Kid Club, send it to nlphotos@cbc.ca. I'd like your name, how old you are, where you're from, and then send me your address, and I will send you a postcard in the mail.
Right, and really like your optimism, Emma.
Yes.
Summer.
It is really right around the corner, right?
Yeah.
A couple months away now.
This is your first winter here.
I know. I keep getting told that.
I like your optimism.
Exactly. I'm always optimistic. But as we head towards Thursday, we are looking at that snow continuing up through Labrador. So taking a look at the future tracker, you can see that snow through the overnight. Again, we'll see that move through most of Newfoundland, or at least the eastern portion of Newfoundland as well, through the overnight. And then once that moves through, we're just looking at more scattered activity, not too much in the way of accumulation. But those winds will stay strong up through Labrador through the day on Thursday, and then overnight, once that low pulls away, things should clear out. Maybe a few flurries down through the Burin Peninsula through the afternoon. But here's a look at some of the snowfall totals expected. This will take us through Thursday night. Nain will see the most snow. That's including what's going to fall through the overnight tonight, somewhere close to 40 centimeters less as we head down towards Rigolet, down closer to 10 to maybe 15 centimeters of snow by the time Thursday night rolls around. That's because we should see things taper to flurries as we head further south. So taking a look at the forecast, again, those winds will continue, snow and blowing snow for coastal Labrador. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, -14, Lab City sitting at -17. Those temperatures are going to dip again for most of Newfoundland. So -12 is your afternoon high for Corner Brook. We're looking at that potential for some onshore flurries again, might make its way towards Grand Falls, Windsor as well at -10. And then down through the Burin Peninsula and the Avalon, can't rule out the chance of a few flurries into the afternoon. Now, heading closer towards the weekend, as we get into Friday, we are going to see things stay a little bit unsettled. So a mix of sun and cloud with that potential for flurries right through the day on Friday, as those winds stay strong up through the northern portions of Labrador through the overnight on Friday. And then continuing through the day on Saturday, we'll see another round of snow make its way through. And then for most of Newfoundland, again, mix of sun and cloud with that potential for a few flurries. Not much in the way of winds. Eventually things will clear out overnight Saturday. And then it looks like a generally calm weekend as we head towards Sunday. So that's definitely good news for there. So if we take a look at the 5-day forecast for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland, about 5 to 10 centimeters, as I mentioned, for the metro area. As we head further south for the Avalon, we could pick up about 10 to 15 centimeters. Otherwise, staying cold right through Friday, and then we'll see that potential for some more flurries on Saturday. You can't rule that out on Sunday either, but generally looking at a mix of sun and cloud. For central areas of the island, flurries right through Friday with some snow moving in late day Saturday, and then sunshine on Sunday as well. Western Newfoundland looks beautiful tomorrow. Windy conditions though as we head towards Thursday and Friday. Saturday we'll see that snow as well, and temperatures will climb a little bit back to still below seasonal, but a little bit better at -3. And then up through eastern portions of Labrador, windy conditions again through Friday with plenty of sunshine for Saturday and Sunday. And then same thing for western Labrador with a chance of flurries tomorrow. Sunshine on Thursday, and then that potential for some flurries into Saturday. So let's look at your extended forecast. I'll have your weather photo when I come back. Carolyn?
Thanks, Ashley. Well, gift cards are a convenient and popular gift. Canadians buy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of them every year, but they can be vulnerable to scammers. CBC's Leah Hendry has an exclusive story about a Quebec woman who nearly lost more than $500.
When Samantha Venzura received $550 in Walmart gift cards, she planned on using them to buy baby supplies for her son, Warner. But when she went to use them a few weeks later, she got a big surprise at the checkout. A cashier told her the cards had already been used.
There was nothing on one of them, it was completely empty, and the other one had about $4.
A flustered Venzura quickly headed to the customer service desk.
The customer service receipt actually said
They printed off receipts that showed the cards were used at the end of December in Brampton and Thornhill, Ontario. Impossible, Venzura said, as she was in Florida at the time, more than 2,000 kilometers away. Still hoping to get her money back, Venzura filed a complaint. But after weeks of getting what she describes as the runaround, Venzura contacted CBC.
To be honest, if it wasn't $550, I probably would have given up already.
While Quebec's Office of Consumer Protection hasn't received any complaints about gift card fraud, there are similar stories to Venzura's in the U.S. and even a class action lawsuit in Missouri accusing Walmart of not doing enough to protect their cards from thieves. So how do they do it? Typically, fraudsters grab gift cards like these off a display rack. They'll note the identification number and then they'll peel off this little sticker that hides the PIN number and note it down. They'll then replace it with a new sticker and put this back on the shelf. Once the card is activated and loaded with money, they'll be able to buy things online very quickly. Walmart Canada told CBC Venzura's experience is unusual. A spokesperson for the retailer says it issues and processes thousands of gift cards on a daily basis. It would not say how many are compromised by thieves. In an email, spokesperson Diane Medeiros said, Walmart Canada will look at every instance on a case-by-case basis and work with our customer to investigate any potential fraud and assist where possible. Shortly after CBC's inquiries, Venzura's cards were reissued for the full amount. While Venzura was satisfied she was finally reimbursed, she doesn't think Walmart is doing enough to protect its customers. She says she won't buy a Walmart gift card again unless they put them in a safe place behind the counter. Leah Hendry, CBC News, Montreal.
Google is going to ban political advertising on its platforms ahead of Canada's federal election in October, and it says it's because of the Liberal government's new law. Bill C-76 was passed in December, and it brings in new ad transparency rules which state that online platforms must keep a registry of any political and partisan ads that are published. Google says it's impossible to comply with the new act, and it issued this statement. For the duration of the 2019 federal election campaign, Google will not accept advertising regulated by Bill C-76. We are focusing our efforts on supporting Canadian news literacy programs and connecting people to useful and relevant election-related information.
Counterterrorism police in the UK have launched an investigation after 3 suspicious packages were sent to 2 airports and a major
No one was injured but what turned out to be small explosive devices, though one caused a small fire in an airport office. Police were called this morning after a package ignited when opened by office staff at Heathrow, and a similar package later turned up in a second airport office in East London and another in the mailroom of London's busiest railway station. Now, flights were unaffected, but rail service was disrupted for a short time. The UK is on its second highest level of terrorism alert, with officials saying that an attack is highly unlikely.
Well, here's a look at your weather photo of the day today. Kind of hard to figure out where that photo was taken, but it's a cool one.
I don't know where to focus, on the beautiful sun, the ice, or the vessel.
Exactly.
Near St. Brendan's.
Random guess. I'll tell you where this photo was taken and who took it when we come back.
Welcome back.
Not much time left.
No, take a look at our viewer weather photo of the day.
What a great shot.
Yeah, it struck me when I saw that earlier today. This photo was taken St. Philip's.
Oh.
Closer than I thought.
It was closer than you thought.
There you go. It's
yeah.
the Bell Island Ferry.
It was, yeah. Bridget Meany sent us that beautiful photo of the sunset through the icicles, so thank you so much for sending that photo in. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Excellent composition. Yeah, beautiful.
Very creative.
Okay, so I guess we'll do this again tomorrow.
We will.
Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll see you then.
Good night.
Good night.